that she, like, you know, spent time with and filmed with, it's not, it might not be like the most exciting or entertaining video for you, but nonetheless, I hope you can just, you know, relax, enjoy the whisper rambling, enjoy the tapping and the triggers of all the different things, and, you know, maybe learn a little bit about her or me. And yeah, so just go ahead, sit back, and let's get into it. So I will first start, well, actually, maybe I'll just start by rambling about her and my love for her for a second. I don't remember when my, like, love of her started. I believe it was, well, okay, so my family, especially my dad, always had us watch old, like, very important and, like, big movies that happened back in the day when he was a kid, or just even back in the history of the world. And so I was always kind of familiar with, like, Clark Gable, like Humphrey Bogart, you know, like Fred Astaire, Marilyn, like, just by my dad talking about it and watching some of those older movies that he wanted his kids to watch because they were, you know, like, cinematic, historical movies. I don't know if that's making sense, but and then I just learned about her in school, and especially with the Kennedys. I mean, you guys know this, I love reading history books about the US, about the world, and the Kennedys are such a big part of it. And so I would always learn and read about them and all the, you know, all the conspiracy theories, all the stories, the good, the bad. I love reading about that stuff. And then then I noticed, you know, Marilyn Monroe kept coming up with the Kennedys, with movies, with history, with, you know, the FBI, right? Like J. Edgar Hoover, right? Like, that, it was just wild that she kept coming up. So I think it was in college that I really started to look and research about her. And then a couple years ago, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, my Nana, I was down visiting her in Florida, and she was reading a magazine only about Marilyn Monroe. And I was like, okay, like, I've heard of her, I've heard a lot about her, I've started to research her, let's dive into it. And I got hooked. And my dad was with me in Florida too, and I remember them just talking about her and her little black book, and just like her whole history with all these big famous men. And yeah, and then I just kind of dove in deep and opened up that rabbit hole, and I've been obsessed since. I also, you know, I also love the royal family, so, like, the pictures of her with Queen Elizabeth were just, it's so interesting seeing the juxtaposition between, like, her Hollywood, you know, it girl vibe, and then, like, Queen Elizabeth, like, this regal figure. It's just so interesting, and I love those different dynamics of these very famous women, and seeing their mark in history. And yeah, so I've just been really interested since, and she was such a fascinating woman. She went through so much, and she was in really great movies. My personal favorite is probably Gentlemen Prefer Blondes that she's in, but I also really like Some Like It Hot and The 7-Year Itch. Really everything that she's in. She was just such ahead of her time in the way that she, you know, like, took, how do I say this? She was never afraid to be herself and be sexual and be womanly and feminine and strong. Like, she had her flaws and she had weak moments, but overall she just was such a pillar of powerful women in history. so let's start with this book. So this is literally called Marilyn Monroe, and it is by Donald Spoto. Look at her, she's so pretty. That's the back. And this is the biography. So this is, it's a very old book. Oh, like very old. It's, actually, I don't even know when this one, I wonder if I can see. I don't know, probably says it somewhere, but it's old. I'm gonna take off the cover to tap on it. Okay. So this book is like I believe it's a pretty accurate, I think it's a pretty accurate description of her life. She grew up extremely poor, in and out of foster care, the whole thing. Her mom's best friend ended up marrying her to a man in the army when she was like 15, 16, something crazy. Just so she had stability and money and whatever. But then a couple years later, after she got married, she was doing pictures to send to the men out out fighting in Europe, and she got famous like that as a model. And the rest is kind of history. So I'm leaving out a lot of details, I know that, but if I were to describe her entire life story from start to finish, this video would be 3 hours long. But yeah, it goes through all of her different husbands, her whole life. It is wildly interesting. It goes through her friends, all the different men, and what I find the most interesting is the Rat Pack that she associated with. The Rat Pack was like the people that it was during like the 60s, I want to say, and it was like Frank Sinatra. Who else was it? Well, Peter Lawford. Peter Lawford was, I'll get into him a little bit later. Dean Martin. Yeah. There's other ones. Sammy Davis Jr., I believe. Anyway, so she had all these different connections somehow to all these rich and famous and powerful men. And they all had connections. Like she had connections to JFK, obviously the famous Happy Birthday, Mr. President video. But then his brother Bobby, there was a lot of weird stuff going on between the three of them. All the Rat Pack people, especially Peter Lawford. And it goes all the way to her death, which I hate to get all conspiracy theory-y, but I do believe someone killed her. I do believe anyway, so this book has all of that in it. This is like, I've read it so many times. I think, yeah, it's just fascinating to me. She pretty much had a husband or was involved with someone in every industry in the US at the time, you know, like the 50s and 60s, the politicians, all of the Hollywood actors and directors and makers, sports, you know, Joe DiMaggio, she was married to him. Although he's a controversial one too, because people have different opinions. Some people said he grounded her, helped her, loved her, you know, to the very end, which is true. He did love her to the very end. But, you know, he beat her. Like, I don't love him. But I think he did actually love her in his own twisted way. And again, even with like the FBI, J. Edgar Hoover, and the musicians, Franks, I mean, it goes endless. What other woman or man in history can you think of that had ties, whether it was intimate, friends, professional, had ties in every single facet of how the United States was ran? I mean, she even went international, but it's just so interesting how they're all tied. I mean, and the royal family. Like, you don't get that anymore. But anyway, we can move on, but I love that book. Okay, so then, speaking of Peter Lawford, he's probably the most interesting to me in the Rat Pack. So this is the Peter Lawford book, the Peter Lawford story. And it's written by Patrick Lawford Stewart. Oh yeah, it was written by his wife. Or Patricia Lawford Stewart. Okay, so in other news, it just began to downpour raining. Like, downpour. That was weird. It wasn't even that cloudy beforehand, and it was so beautiful yesterday. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, but I'm so sorry if the rain is distracting. I hope it's just a nice relaxing. That doesn't sound that relaxing. I'm gonna keep going, but I'm so sorry if it's bothering you, but I don't wanna. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if I should stop filming or not, but I think we're gonna keep going. Maybe I'll just turn down the gain a little bit. How's that? I don't know. Let me know if the rain was too distracting, and next time it rains I'll stop filming. Okay. But yeah, so Peter Lawford was one of the members of the Rat Pack. Maybe I'll bring my mic closer to me. And he had ties to everyone. The Kennedys, Marilyn, Frank Sinatra, although him and Frank Sinatra actually kind of feuded, which is interesting. But he grew up to the Kennedys and Marilyn. Just, I feel, make him responsible in some way for her death, for Marilyn's death. And this book, I mean, his wife talks about it too. Like, you just can't deny some connections if they're in the middle, if they're right in front of your face, right? That was him. And so the reason why I'm including this book in the Marilyn themed video is because of their connections and how much this book talked about the house that she and the Rat Pack would go to in Malibu or somewhere out in LA. Would talk about her death, talked about her husbands. And the really interesting thing to me is, like, Peter never had kids. Marilyn never had kids. Peter's sexuality was always kind of talked about. I think I don't know, it was hard back there because being, like, bisexual really wasn't, you know, like a common occurrence, right? So, I don't know. But for her, you know, there's so much talks of why she didn't have kids, if she had had terminated certain pregnancies. I don't know, it's all speculation. I have my own beliefs, but honestly, all of that is such a vulnerable, personal, intimate, thing. I don't even want to speculate or talk about it because a woman's reproductive system is her business, and I want to respect that, so I'm really not going to get into what I believe, but I do have my thoughts on all of their different reproductive, children, sexuality things. I mean, it's just fascinating to, like, read about, learn about. Okay, so moving on. This is a tin. A Marilyn Monroe tin. From her, it's the cover of her movie Some Like It Hot. I don't know if this is going to make the best tapping sounds. Maybe I'll try the back. My friend got this for me for Christmas or my birthday or something a couple years ago, because she knows how much I love Marilyn. Yeah, I just love it. I keep it right up here on my bookshelf, bookcase. If you haven't seen a Marilyn movie, I'd suggest Some Like It Hot. It's probably her most famous. Maybe I just made that up. But it's a good one to start with. Although Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is my personal favorite, but okay. That's the tin. Now we're gonna move on to the last two things I'm gonna show you, and I'm gonna have to redo the camera setup because one is a canvas I have hung up right here, this video doesn't even skim the surface of her. There is so much history and stories and like fascination. But again, I didn't want to make this video 3 hours long. So let's move in to let's do the canvas, or should we do the poster? Let's do the poster next. So I'll see you in the next clip. Okay, hi. Welcome to my kitchen. Okay, I should probably actually stand in front of Frank so Marilyn gets the spotlight. So, this is like the best angle I could do for my phone. I'll probably flip the camera and go up close so I could show you her in her beauty, but I just wanted to show both. So we have Frank here. This is when he was arrested in Hoboken in 1938. And the funniest part is he was actually arrested for seduction, which I just find hilarious because look at that beautiful face. I mean, he is so gorgeous. But he is not the star of the show. Marilyn is. I just wanted to show him because, again, I'm obsessed with that old Hollywood Rat Pack. Frank was part of the Rat Pack, and just how they're all connected, and I love Frank and his music, and so yeah, that's him. But this is Marilyn. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera around, but I just wanted you to see kind of both. She's beautiful. And these two pieces are just on my kitchen wall because I love them and I love her. So I'm gonna flip the camera around so I can tap more and you can see it up close. Be right back. Okay, so never mind. I just spent way too long trying to flip the camera and get close to her, but it didn't work, and this is the best we're gonna do. It's also still raining, so if you keep hearing that, I'm sorry. Again, hopefully it's not too bad. But okay, so let's just do some tapping on her and some tracing. I feel like I have to use my right hand. So we have her gorgeous face here with her eye and her lips, teeth, nose, her hair, her beautiful necklace and neck, and I believe this is like a nightgown. enjoyed looking at her beautiful poster, and let's move on. Okay, so here we are at the Marilyn Last Supper. And this is all of the Hollywood Okay, so that's it. That's my girl Marilyn. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed. This video made me so happy to film, and let me know if you have any comments or questions on her or